think about the absolute worst thing that could happen to you. Absolute worst. Now, think about the second worst. And you know what? Go ahead and add the third worst. Now, imagine all three of those coming to fruition. Back to back to back. Now, think about who you were before any of them happened. Will you be the same person after all three happened? Well, this episode is special to me because there's not many people I come across in my personal circle that have experienced as much, drama, tragedy, as my friend here, Derek Nordgren. But what's amazing about this kid, and I say kid because he's significantly younger than me, is it hasn't defined him. And I wanted to have him on the series here in your atmosphere because I feel like it's my duty to introduce you to someone like him if you don't know him, because so many of us are going through so many different things, specifically through a pandemic. And you may think to yourself, I can't do this. Well, I'm not comparing your problems with what you'll hear in this discussion here with Derek Nordgren. What I'm saying is, use it as an example to say that this person's problems that were significant to him, he faced them, he continues to face them, and yet he's actually a better person, a stronger person, still positive, not perfect, but he gets up every day and he makes it happen. Think about it that way. Again, don't compare your problems. Don't compare your tragedies. Just think about what you're going through and know that it is possible to keep going, to keep pushing through, and to still be, if not the same person, an even better person at the end. I think you'll enjoy this episode if you can at least keep that in mind. Again, thanks for joining us. This has been quite a journey here on the In Your Atmosphere series. And I think you'll like meeting my friend Derek Nordgren. So enjoy and I think you'll like it. Take care. Each of us has a figurative atmosphere. Those individuals we choose to spend our time with. But we need to ask ourselves, are those people willing to celebrate with us on our best day and stand with us on our worst day? Have they provided you with life lessons that can serve as a protection for you? My atmosphere is full of those whom I choose to surround myself with because they make me a better person. My name is Donovan Woods, and the purpose of this podcast is to shine light on some of their stories. I've personally either overcome challenges or I'm continuing to endure based on what I've learned from each and every one of them. Welcome to In Your Atmosphere. So, Mr. Nordgren, Derek Nordgren, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Doing well, Donnie. How about yourself?
I am good. I am. This is, for the audience listening, this is being recorded approximately 3 or 4 days after the Dallas Cowboys made fools of themselves on national television on the national holiday there. I think they played the Las Vegas Raiders. I think that's your team. I'm going to get it out of the way right now. And I may or may not have said a lot of trash talk before.
And you're supposed to send me a Cowboy hat.
I was going to send you a Cowboy cap.
I was aware, but since they lost, I was going to do something else. But
yeah, so I'm glad that I timed this way. It'll keep me humble and we can focus on the message instead of really just you killing me over the fact that I hate the Cowboys. But Derek, I want to ask you a question to kind of get this started off. First of all, I already asked you how you are. And, you know, I've asked all my guests this and I want to know your thought and just, you know, you don't know what's coming, but don't feel nervous. Why do you think I asked you to be part of this podcast series, In Your Atmosphere?
That's a good question. Probably because I'm crazy. I'm all over the place. I speak my mind. No, but I guess we do know each other well, but I think this is even a better way to get to know each other. I think when you're close friends, it's like you even posted about this before, when you're close friends with somebody, you don't necessarily have to hang out with them all the time or even talk every single day. Even if you text every day, that's fine. But getting to know them, those deeper questions, getting to know really what's in their heart, what's on their minds. And at least for me, I'm a very honest person. And I'll tell it how it is. I think you are as well. So anything that you ask me, I'm going to basically just say it. I've always worn my feelings on my sleeve. So I think you probably just want the real me here. So you're going to get that.
So none of what you said is the reason, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm going to tell you the actual reason. So yes, you are crazy. Yes, you do wear your emotions on your sleeve and your heart on your sleeve. I think I'd summarize it better this way. We are, I think, 13 years apart in age. So you're, yeah, I wish I was. Yeah. Anyway, so you're significantly younger than me. You're literally like the same age as my little brother. So I remember meeting you the first time we were playing football, and you may not remember this, but it was a large group out in Herndon, Virginia. And I saw this short little white kid, and I'm like, why is he out here? Me being a racist. And you were definitely one of the most athletic little kids. I'm like, look at this guy. All right. And I kept in touch over the years. But again, at that point, you were young. There were iPhones and things. So I kept in touch with your older brother, Daniel. And then I kind of watched from a distance as you grew and you got married. Now you have a son. And it's even those aren't the reasons why. The main reason why I asked you to be part of this is because, and I'll summarize it this way. It is a gift and a curse that you and I both wear our emotions on our sleeves. It's a gift and a curse that we are just honest. We could be tactful, but we're honest. But really, I asked you because you just go so hard. And when I mean you go hard for love. Yes, you go hard when you do sports. And sometimes I know that afterwards you may tell us stories about how, you may have gotten a little aggressive playing sports. And I know you're saying it for you. It's like a confession, and that's fine. But it's that side of you is what we all love. It's the fact that you just, when people come into contact with you, they immediately are attracted to that quality, that you just go so hard and you love those that are around you. You try to love those that you don't know. You try to influence those you don't know. I mean, even your customers, I'm sure if I went around and asked them, they love not only your family, but you specifically because of just how genuine you are. You're a genuine dude. And the real narrow it down beyond that would be you've lived life, and your young life. You have gone through things that most adults that are about to check out have not experienced. And you've done that. And yet people would still describe you not by those incidents, but by how hard you love and how much you give. And as we get closer to the end of this, people will kind of get where I'm going with this, because I find it hard to understand how you can be this positive, this good, this much of a, I won't say a lover, but this much of a positive person, but yet you've actually gone through some serious stuff, but you don't let it define you. So let me kind of set this up a little better now that I've kind of given you the reason why you're here, and I've kind of made you kind of chill out. I can see you've kind of just mellowed a little bit there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm like, I do really appreciate that. And you're all trying to get me all emotional before we even start.
I have my Oprah on, I got to break you a little bit.
Okay, sure. I'm the next Will Smith now. Okay.
So tell us about you a little bit. How long have you and Allison been married?
8 years. We got married September 14th, 2013. So we just said 8 years.
Man, that went by quick. Okay. All right. And she seems to be a perfect complement for you. You're 31. Give everybody the dates. Yes, you are still a young guy. You got married young, but it's working. And you guys just had your first child, a son, about 2 years ago. And
yeah, 2.5.
Okay, 2.5. And Luca is a little version of both of you. I've never met him in person thanks to the pandemic, but I've kind of watched him grow on Instagram as well as just all the things you talk about. So tell me this. I want to kind of get to know you a little bit, and our audience to know why I chose you and why I think it's beneficial for people to have people like you in their life. What's it like raising a son?
Man, that's I kind of want to see. When I found out, stuff hit when we found out when we were pregnant, and then when Phil passed away, certain things, you know what I mean? So all of that just went into just everything. You know what I mean? Because like how I was when we found out we were pregnant, so I was immediately excited and pumped up. A week later, Phil passes away, mentally checked out. Like, it was just a completely different person. So anyway, if I can answer all that, we can talk all about that. But first, if we want to just talking about raising a son, a child, it's hard in this system, obviously, it's a crazy world that we live in.
Yeah.
A pandemic's challenging. It's been hard for a lot of reasons, going out in the ministry, going to the meetings, it's just different. You're at home, you're locked in on Zoom. I mean, the meeting's here at home, but his playground, his toys are here too. So that's a challenge. That's different. Right. But just raising him he's a blast, man. He's such a joy. He brings so much love to our life, despite all of like the negative stuff we've been through and the problems. Like he makes us so happy. Like each day there's something that he does that like brings us joy. It's a challenge. There's a lot of responsibilities to it. I mean, I kind of liken it to in a different way. You go from being single to married, obviously just new responsibilities, new challenges, married to now having a kid. I mean, that's your whole life, your whole schedule changes. So like he is the schedule, the time, everything. Obviously my wife, she's such a hard worker, awesome mother, is with him most of the day. So she's putting in and training him and teaching him literally hours and hours throughout the day. So when I get home, I try to help out. I give her a break, and then he's either taking a nap with me. I mean, I wish I could nap with him, but now he's getting too big. He's in his crib and stuff. But just it's cool too. They said from ages 0 to 3 is you learn more in those 3 years than any other 3 years in your life. So you could take 18 to 21, maybe college age when you're soaking up all these books, teenage years, maybe in your 30s. Any 3 years, 0 to 3 is when you're soaking in everything. You can kind of see that because he's learning to talk a little bit, all these different things. Like he's, putting things together. He remembers things. It's just cool to see their little minds grow. So I think despite all the challenges being a pandemic, it's opened my eyes up because you can't really, to be a good parent, you can't be selfish. You know what I mean? You still take care of yourself and do things. You got to, at least for myself as a husband, even though my wife works from home, I get to go out and work. So I'm not, I'm still kind of living that part of my life, if that makes sense. But you're always thinking about your wife and kid. You know what I mean? Like everything I do, it's for them. You know what I mean? Right. So like that changes you because you can't really, I don't want to say you're not necessarily born with that. It's just once you have a child, everything else changes, So,
but like, okay. And that's kind of what I expected to hear from you. You're pretty honest. So your text, our conversations, our jokes about everything, our families, that's what I expected. But now you come from a family with a lot of siblings. What could you take from your own childhood that you're able to kind of like sprinkle into? I know you're bringing two people together and it's two different backgrounds and you're trying to raise this new person, but what from your background have you been able to kind of go, oh, wow, that's why my parents did that. And you're trying to do that with him.
Good question. I would just say time and love. My parents, and we had a lot more kids, or they had a lot more kids. There was 7 of us running around, right? We just have 1. So we can spend a lot more time and energy with them. And then being raised with a bunch of siblings, I had 3 older siblings, 2 younger siblings. So, it's a big family. But just time and energy and love. My mom and dad just, I felt like they showered me with love. And I never felt that I wasn't loved. I just literally felt that my whole childhood growing up to a teenager. Obviously, when you get teenage years, then like you're hanging out with your friends. Obviously, me and my brother Daniel are super close. I got a bunch of other friends and cousins. But what I just take from my parents is the time and energy and just the love. Training my son the right way, raising him that way. Discipline when you need to, but just spending that time. He's obviously still young, so he is learning. Like he can see if you're on the phone or whatnot. And I am on the phone a lot. So just thinking about that, and he can see that. But especially when he's getting older, like if he wants my attention, put the phone down, do so. You know what I mean? So I've learned that because when I was younger, phones weren't even out. I remember when my dad had that like zipper box and whatever, took it in the truck. I remember that on that. There's no like text, but I'm not older. Right. And you remember that. Like it does seem like just a completely different time. So just that time and energy, and they always did stuff with us. Like my dad would take us to play basketball on the weekends, even though we were watching him play like when we were younger. I'll take Luke go golf, and when he gets older, maybe take him to the basketball court. So just things like that. And then obviously, a father is a different role than a mother. But my wife, I can just see so much love that she's shown, even though she only knew my mom for like a year or so. Man, she's just like, you can't compare, but like how my mom was as a mom and how my wife is as a mother. I mean, I couldn't ask for two better mothers one for my son, my wife being a mother, and then obviously my mom for myself.
Fair enough. And all of us that know you are benefiting, we benefit from that training. And I mean, I can't imagine how much time it takes for Allison to be with them all day. And I think about just working from home with just my dog. And sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I do love you, but shut up. So, and to think about all parents that, exactly. If he's your son, exactly.
Like, and Allison's like, she has two kids, him and me. I'm like the kid. So it is nonstop. Like,
she has to be a good woman. Fair enough.
Right. Exactly. I pray for her for dealing with me now with Luca.
All right. So I'm going to transition this a little bit and still use Luca as what we're building off of. But like, as he gets older, how will you, I'm going to ask you the same question 3 different ways. When Luca's older, how will your personal experiences help him grow as a man? That's broad, but each question will get a little more narrow, but how will your experiences in life, things you've been through, good and bad, how will they influence who he is shaped by? Like, how are you using that to shape him?
Oh man, I think in life you learn from your mistakes, right? So there's obviously small mistakes, there's large mistakes, but I think even just experiences, they mold who you are. So I think for myself and even raising him, making sure he's around a good crowd and surrounded by a good group of friends. I think that was so huge for me because obviously we have a big family and I was close to all of my siblings, but when you get to like teenage years, you have to kind of create your own friends, right? I mean, me and Daniel were always super close, but when I was 16, that's when he got married. So then he has his own family. So then who am I going to be hanging out with, right? That was cool. Like I started driving at 16, right when he got married, so I could kind of go my own way. But having friends that love Jehovah is so important. I mean, that was my anchor, and most of my friends were older than I was. So I think in training him and teaching him, and I see that now with a bunch of teenagers, it's hard because one, not only in this pandemic, we hope obviously, the pandemic's gone hopefully soon, but just making real friends, because it's so easy just to be attached to your phone or on social media or Instagram and, I have 10,000 followers, but I don't even have 2 friends, right? So I just want him to make sure he's making good friends, be a good friend. I think that's important. And just being open and honest. I think for myself, there's nothing wrong with admitting that you made a mistake or that you were wrong or that you need to say, I'm sorry, but just always be honest, because once you start even the small little lies or hiding certain things, it's just going to ruin you as a person. And then that can kind of ruin you as an adult too. Because if you start that young, it's going to hurt you when you're older. But if you build those good habits when you're younger, then when you get older, you don't really think about that. You know what I mean? So I think just having those conversations, I think you also, like, from your parents, you learn good and bad. So like what they did do or what they didn't do. So just also that, making sure I'm communicating well with him, listening to him, having those tough conversations when needed. But
because sometimes our parents look perfect to us, right? Like they seem perfect. And if we can have them in our lives long enough to kind of reflect on something, whether it's a period in time or a decision that was made, I noticed that my parents opened up on, that was a bad decision. Or, we weren't doing this the way we probably should have looked at it that way. And as you're a kid, you just think they're perfect. And I think that's key, what you said, like letting them know as they get older, look, take those negatives that happen in your life and now help your son skip at least one failure or at least one decision that maybe will save him some time, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Now, same question, but it's just a little bit of a twist. So when Luca gets older, how will your personal experiences help him endure when things go bad? And you can elaborate on that any way you want. This is for you to share whatever you want to share, but I will let the audience who's listening, who doesn't know your story, know you've suffered major losses, like within a roughly 6-year period. Is that about right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. And I'll give them this. We don't have to go into it. You decide. But losing a parent, losing a sibling, losing a best friend within 6 years. And then, as you said, also that emotional roller coaster of, oh, and also now bringing a new life and I'm married. So there's these positives that are huge, but these others that you still have to process. So how will you, when Luca's older and he's growing, how will those personal experiences help him to endure tragedies or anything that may come his way that isn't a positive?
Right. No, that's an awesome question. And I think even though I'm not old, but the older you get, you do look back and you think, because you even said that before, and I've had somebody say, "What, man, you're just so positive. How are you so positive?" But there are times you don't feel that way. I mean, I don't really view them separately. I mean, obviously, I feel like everyone would say their life maybe when they're single is different from when they're married and have kids, right? Just because you're not a different person, but you just have completely different responsibilities. When you're single, you just worry about yourself. When you're married, you're worried about your wife. And when you have kids, you're worried about your entire family. But for me, I truly believe, I always felt like as a positive kid growing up, just this little kid, bunch of energy. It was easy for me to always see the good in whatever situation was. And if somebody was upset, I would ask why. And you know what I mean? But it was just easy for me to just brush it off and kind of refocus, recalibrate, get back to being positive. But as an adult male, as you said, stuff just hit, man. I got married at 23, super excited. Me and Allison were dating for a little over a year. One of the happiest moments of my life. Right. Getting married 9 months later, my mom suddenly out of nowhere passed away. So I'm like, oh my God, that was by far the biggest shock. A year before that, my grandmother passed away. That was probably the closest or the first time somebody close to me passed away, but your grandma, she was 82 and she had Alzheimer's for, about 10 years. So it was kind of expected, but my mom was just not expected at all. Then 2 years after that, as you mentioned, my brother passed away. And then 2 years after that, my best friend passed away. I mean, this was just and then a couple months after that, the person I was studying the Bible with passed away. It was just it felt like every year or two, you just couldn't catch a break. So I think somebody told me this before, after my mom passed away. Again, it's an illustration. It doesn't really explain everything, but it's like if somebody just chops your leg off, right? Eventually you'll be able to live a new normal, but you don't have your leg. So you're not that same person. So you're living your life without your leg. Yeah, you can still at times be happy, but when you look down, you don't have that leg. So death is like that. To me, death's worse, but it's like, that did hit home. It's like, yeah, you can get back to living a new normal, but it's new. It's completely different because you don't have your mom, you don't have your brother, you don't have your best friend, you don't have all these other people that had a big effect in your life. And I think for me, my mom and I were super close. We talked about everything, talked every day. So that was super hard, right? My brother was super hard. He was, he was going down a negative path, and my mom was always worried something bad would happen. But that obviously hurt though, because you grow up with him. You have so many amazing experiences with him that you remember.
It doesn't make it easier.
Exactly, yeah. And for me, I can always look at the good qualities that they had, and the good times that we had. But then Phil, man, Phil's hurt, man. That's a whole nother thing too, because it's like, this is where
he's a large presence. He was such a large presence. He's one of those people. You didn't have to be around him much, but you knew him. You never forgot him. That one interaction, you just, Phil, where Phil, Leesburg? Oh, yeah. And that was how it always was.
It was
that's from a distance. So for you to be that close to that type of a personality. Yeah.
And to tell you how much of a distance for somebody who didn't know him, someone who met him one time, at the gym, right? And this was months later, said, "Hey, where's your buddy that you used?" And he was like, "What's his name?" Phil. And he was like, "What? Man, he is always so happy and smiling, a big personality and all that stuff." They only met him one time and they remembered him and the effect, something positive that he said to them. So I think what was so hard with Phil too is, I met him when I was 13 and we just hung out ever since, all the time. And the older I got, the more we would hang out. So even when I graduated high school, we went to Jamaica for a week together. Besides just talking every day, working out every day, but those long, hard conversations that we had, he's 7 years older than me. So somebody, as a teenager, he helped me. You have those conversations you don't have with literally anyone else on the planet, me and Phil had. And so he helped mold me as a person, helped me to love Jehovah more, helped me to stay focused spiritually. And so losing him was just man, it's hard. So I think what's going to help me and even raising Luca is, probably all over the place, but getting it all back together is, okay, what grounds you? What makes you a positive person? And always thinking about that. So obviously our love for Jehovah, is number one. It has to be, a relationship with him. But just because you lose someone in death, this is what I've realized. And sometimes you can be your own worst enemy because you're like, okay, who's next? What's next? You might get anxious. Like, okay, I get a phone call, right? Like, okay, who just passed away? You know what I mean? Like, or someone's calling you. My dad will call me 3 straight times. Like, what just happened? You know what I mean? You immediately think that, but keep reminding yourself, just because you lose someone in death doesn't have to stop you from being a kind, caring, loyal, positive person. It does affect, again, I notice now as an adult, I do have to try and force myself to be more positive than I used to, if I'm being honest. Because before it just seemed like, oh, life's just amazing. You haven't lost anybody. You don't even really know what death is. You might see like an older person in the congregation pass away, but then when it's like literally affecting your inner circle and
correct,
wherever you look, man, that's gone. And even for myself, I think about Phil, my mom, all these people who have passed away every day, every single day. But it is now to the point where it's good thoughts, positive thoughts. I know I'll see them again, but I don't hear their voices, but I hear what they've told me before. You know what I mean?
Yep.
All those statements, they stick with me. So I try to use that to just help other people as well. So I think with my son, just making sure he understands, what his most important relationship is and keep that with Jehovah, but also you can control, how you treat people. You know what I mean? That's going to hurt you, and if hopefully you don't experience, big major things, but if you do, just do your best to try to help other people, because that can help make you feel better. It's not going to take away your anger, your anxiety when you get down, but it helps. That's what we need in this life. We need something that's going to help us as well. That's not selfish. My wife has something on the on her bathroom mirror that says self-care isn't selfish. And it's true. You got to take care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't. That's why they have in the planes pull down the oxygen mask. You don't put it on somebody else first. You put it on yourself first. So.
And I think what I want any listener who's here, and if you know Derek, or if you're looking at it even in the camera, Mr. Clark Kent here, you see a young, polished, fit. Let's use it. Let's be honest. White guy in America. Things look great. His life's great. He's got a kid. He's got a wife. Oh, it's so great. So great. Every single person out there is dealing with something. They don't have to walk around and be, maybe me or someone who's a more moodier person, to say, or just shouting, hey, I got problems. Hey, I got problems. No. And I think that's why it's so important. That's why I wanted you on this this series, because not many people I've come across can match you tragedy for tragedy. There are people that I don't know, obviously, that can, but not many people in my circle that I've come across in my 40 plus years can say, oh, well, I've had this happen. Okay, cool. Well, this person has this, and this. And I think it's setting a tone I want to give for the audience to know you can still get up in the morning. You can still do what you have to do to be a good person, take care of yourself first. And like you said, with the leg illustration, it doesn't mean that pain's not there. It doesn't mean that that you're the same exact person. And I appreciate that about you a lot, Derek, because you have helped me. We've had conversations. We talk all the time. We text all the time, every day. We've met for lunch, even during this pandemic, safely.
Mask up.
But we keep it real. We keep it real about things that would drive us crazy, whether it's our parents or just anything. People in our congregation, people, our friends, we can keep it real, and you need that. And that's also what helps you keep you grounded. And Luke is going to have such a great opportunity if he listens, because it's all free will. But if he listens, he has someone that's exactly. He's stupid. But also but you surround yourself. That's the other benefit. You surround yourself with other positive people. So even if he's not hearing you, he's hearing, Daniel, he's hearing from Lloyd, he's hearing from me, he's hearing from somebody else, your wife, all her friends. So I think that's important. Keep your circle of people, however big it is or small it is, positive, because it can also help. Because like yourself, you talked about you and Phil, 7-year difference, and I'm going to him for things I couldn't ask anyone else. And truth be told, you probably could have. Your dad and mom were there for you, right? It was open door policy, I'm sure. But sometimes kids just don't want to do that. And that's why they surrounded you with positive people as well. So you had that outlet. Last question. So you can get off and you can, I'm not going to take you to the Oprah route, make you cry or anything like that. But same question. When Luke is older, how will your personal experiences help him to thrive, regardless of whatever's going on, to continue to thrive and put one foot in front of the other?
I would say I would say don't take certain things too serious. You're going to go through things in life, but it doesn't have to affect, like the question you just asked, doesn't have to affect you from thriving. There can be negativity all around you. Like you mentioned, try to surround yourself with people who are positive, but we live in a negative, depressed world. And the longer it goes on, I mean, we're all going to be like, I'm tired of everything, right? We probably all feel like that right now. So I think the biggest thing is just, understanding number one, what makes you happy, and always stick with that. So what I'll try to teach them and help them appreciate is your relationship with Jehovah is number one. Now, again, it doesn't just say, oh, yes, I'm just going to serve Jehovah just as a cliche statement. No, it's like, is he your best friend? Are you going to talk to him every day? Are you going to tell other people about him? Are you going to say how he helps you out? How is he able to get me through certain trials? And no matter what, he's always going to be there. So that's what helps me. And that's kind of what I want to, instill to him. No matter what happens in this life, it doesn't have to stop you from thriving, because Jehovah's still there. Jehovah, not only is he the happy God, but anything we think of like the best day ever that we've had, that's going to pale in comparison to what it's like in paradise. So Jehovah gave us all these positive attributes. Any positive experience we've gone through, we can be grateful to him for, but the negative is not from him. So understand that there's going to be negative. We don't know how bad it will get. Maybe you won't go through what this brother went through. You mentioned, I might have gone through more than some people, but I know a lot of people who went through a lot more than me. And it's hard to, I don't really compare, because if, somebody might lose this person, like say, for example, even myself, oh, you lost a best friend. Oh, I feel bad. Well, no, I felt like Phil, my best friend, was like the closest thing ever. Right. So that hurt me more than maybe somebody might say a best friend. But then if somebody loses, maybe somebody who's like 50 years old, or even if they were like 70 and it was 75 and they were expecting it, right? I don't know how that affected them. You know what I mean? That could affect them. Yep. It's not the same. So same thing with, like, I've never lost, obviously, a child. So I can't imagine, like, that thing. I can't, you know what I mean? I've been through a lot of tragedy. I can't imagine losing a wife or a child. I can't. So, like, somebody who's gone through that, and we've had somebody in our congregation who just had that happen in a tragedy all at once. Like, I can't imagine. But, like, his example, so if he's still faithful, he's still trying to be positive, like, despite that, like, that encourages me. That's motivational. So that's what I want Luca to do as well. You can still thrive no matter what. Somebody might be single and wants to be married super bad and it didn't make it work, right? Or you could get married and you lose all that. So, those positions, privileges, or titles or whatever, that doesn't make you happy. It's that ride, the journey of it. You know what I mean? So trying to instill that in them, hopefully will stick.
It sounds, a lot like, the teachings of probably Mamba mentality or Michael Jordan. Not so much LeBron James, but it's just had to throw it in there. There we go.
He has the great.
and I do that in there. I know it was serious, but just to kind of break that.
I choose how to raise my son. I might use Jordan and Kobe's certain things they might have said.
No. And not making light of anything you said. But again, it's good to just kind of break that, just a little serious conversation we had. And the thing is, we have them all the time, whether it's, by text, and we say some deep things on text. And even though we have a group, that's why you have to surround yourself. That's why this whole series, for everyone listening, is called In Your Atmosphere, because even though this series is 10 people, obviously my atmosphere is more than just 10 people, because when I have our text thread with like 6 or 7 of us, but there's certain things I want to talk to you specifically that I know I can go right to Derek about. There's others I can go to Daniel about. There's others I can go to my friends in Detroit. So surround yourself with people that will tell you what you do not want to hear. Yeah. Are not afraid to tell you, and honestly aren't afraid of you saying, I'm not your friend anymore. And that sounds childish, but they're not afraid of that, because that's how much they mean to you and you mean to them. So do that. And Derek, that's how much you mean to me. Obviously, I'm not going to cry, not going to get all lame like that. But your example has always just stuck in my mind, and not just because of the tragedies, but even as you were growing, I saw you as a positive person. And I appreciate that about you. I appreciate you being in my atmosphere. And for those listening, I hope that you can take something from this in terms of, regardless of what happens, you can continue to thrive. And regardless of what happens, continue to be a good friend, so that those around you are also good friends, and your atmosphere stays a positive situation. And again, thank you, Derek, for being a part of this. And thank you all for listening. Oh, going to cut me off, cut my whole ending. Lord. No, go ahead, man. Go ahead. Do your thing, Derek.
And you might have to move some things around. But one thing too, that, again, obviously death is an enemy. It's super negative, but even a positive from it is it does help me and hopefully other people, depending on how you look from it. It makes you make light of a lot of other situations that people make a big deal out of. You know what I mean? Like small petty stuff like, oh, this person said this to me, or this person was being annoying, or like, it honestly makes forgiveness the easiest thing on the planet. Now, again, you get angry about certain things and situations and you're upset and you, of course, man, you wish your mom, your best friend, your brother, and all these people were still here. But for me, it's easier to be positive thinking about the big picture in the situation and not just focusing on, oh, well, this person's upset or that, or like, just go fix it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's, I guess, easy for me just to say and do, but I've always tried to do that. Like, just be positive and look for the good in other people and don't take things too seriously, cause it's not a big deal, no matter what it is. It might be a big deal to other people, but then try to get to know that person to see really why it is,
Love it.
instead of just prejudging them right away and just, okay, no, whatever, you're just depressed or you're just miserable. And we all are, right? So just understand that person and get to know them better. So I feel like deaths help like mature me in that sense, just to even help me be more positive in certain situations.
That's crazy.
Sorry to cut your.
That's a better ending. That's a better ending. And nope, you did not ruin it. No, people need to hear more from just me. That's why I invited you here so that you could talk your talk. So,
and we both, to be honest, didn't really know exactly how, you know what I mean? So we're just like winging it.
No,
which I like.
And I'm just glad that you didn't curse. I was waiting for you to curse. You didn't. So I wanted to trap you, but I can't. So
we're not playing basketball or football. You know what I mean? If you see me in those situations, who knows what it'll do. I tell people I leave it on the court. Don't judge me on the court.
Oh my gosh. For everyone listening, we're going to end it now so Derek can stay a positive man. Yep, we're done. No, Derek, thank you, man. Love you, man. And obviously I'll talk to you after this. But for everyone listening, nope, not about me. It's all about you. This is all about you guys. So thank you. And
thank you, Don. I appreciate that. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to everyone else as well.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you, buddy. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Don. Appreciate it.
All right.